Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're gonna do a really fun video, another Ask Mona series, but this one is gonna be all about your fragrance questions. So before we get started, please remember to like this video if you enjoy it and subscribe to my channel. So as you guys can see, I am obsessed with fragrances, and if you've been following me for a while, you'll know one of my biggest passions ever. And we're currently in my basement, which has turned into my fragrance library. It used to be my gym, but now I have all my babies here and I love to just spend time and appreciate them and admire them and give them love. So thank you everyone who submitted your questions. I love getting your questions for the Ask Mona series, and actually all the time I love hearing from you guys. I'm just gonna go through as many as we can today. If it ends up being too long, we might do a part 2, but let's dig right in. Why do you fall in love with fragrances? Are there key moments in your life that fragrance really made an impact? Ooh, okay. So honestly, I had to ask myself this question very recently because I'm like, why am I so obsessed with fragrances? And honestly, after digging deep, I realized I think it has a lot to do with how emotional I am as a person and how sensitive I am. And I think that, you know, for me, the sense of smell was always the one that connected with me the most. Like, I would prefer to smell something good over seeing something really beautiful or even listening to amazing music, although I love both of those. But the sense of smell to me was something that really touched me and moved me, and it also made me feel very connected to people, to memories, and it always just, yeah, it gives me like, you know, deja vu when I smell something that I love or I've smelled before. So I just love the attachment it has to memories, and I just find it so magical. Which was your first ever fragrance? Honestly, we were looking for it earlier, but I can't find it in this library of like thousands of perfumes. But my first fragrance was Liz Claiborne Curve. And that to me is just like, it's an OG. I know a lot of people who were growing up around my time wore that fragrance as well. It was kind of like, I wouldn't say a blockbuster, but kind of. It was super popular. All right, so Cara found Curve. It was hiding in my little library here, but yeah, I just sprayed it. What is your signature scent? Oh my God. I would say my mixture would always include a lot of vanilla, a lot of musk, a lot of rose, a little bit of spice. Like, I love things like saffron, I love patchouli, I love things that give a little bit of edge to a fragrance. And yeah, so floral, vanilla, sweet, but spicy and woody at the same time. What is your #1 Gourmand perfume? And let me tell you, Gourmand is definitely my favorite it's my favorite fragrance like segment. And I love fragrances that smell really sweet, which is why we created Vanilla 28 from Kayali. And I don't want to sound biased, but I would say it's my favorite Gourmand fragrance. You know, that's why I really put a lot of sweat, blood, and tears into this fragrance to make sure that it's the best one I ever smelled before. Although I love so many others. I mean, there's just like a huge list of beautiful vanilla fragrances that I love. I am just gonna share with you just a couple of my favorite Gourmand fragrances, because otherwise we will change this whole video to Gourmand fragrances. I could go on all day. So like I mentioned, our Kayali Vanilla 28 is definitely a must try if you like Gourmand. It's beautiful, it has a lot of vanilla. It's a huge vanilla overdose with lots of brown sugar as well, tonka, and lots of beautiful ingredients. Like, honestly, this one to me is the whipped cream to my cake. It's what I put on everything. I also really love Un Bois Vanille from Serge Lutens. I love this fragrance brand. It's very niche, it's a bit hard to find, but their juices are phenomenal, and this is a beautiful vanilla, also just gorgeous. This one is a bit more affordable, more accessible in terms of price point, but harder to find. Like, I found this in Kit Ross in LA, Kit Ross. I think they changed their name, but it's called La Maison de la Vanille. And this one is Vanille Sauvage de Madagascar. So this one to me smells like pure vanilla. Just want to spray it. Oh my God. This is really, really, really beautiful. If you love vanilla, this smells like straight up vanilla. Honestly, incredible. It smells like the kind of vanilla you bake with. It's really nice. I also love the double vanille from Guerlain. It's called Spirituosi. I don't know. Chloe, do you know what this says? I can't read anything.
Very good on the. Yeah.
Did I?
Spiritueuse.
Spiritueuse. You say it so nice. Double vanille. Double vanille. This one is beautiful from Guerlain. And look at this little atomizer. Oh my God. Oh, is it gonna work? Okay, maybe not today. Forget about that. All right, and then another one from Kilian, Love Don't Be Shy. Oh my gosh, this is so beautiful. A bit more expensive though, so it definitely is an investment, but it's gorgeous and every squirt just like smells so long lasting, and yeah, the projection is amazing. What perfume do you wear when you feel in love with someone? Ooh. Honestly speaking, like I'm not trying to be biased here, but Sweet Diamond for me is really like a beautiful romantic love fragrance. I feel like it's very flirtatious. Like I do feel like Deja Vu is very loving too, but for me, Deja Vu is more of like that kind of more, you're in a relationship, it's stable, it's like that kind of love relationship, where this is like flirty, new love, puppy love, you're just like, you're dating and you're falling for someone. This is what Sweet Diamond is for me. I feel like it's very bold. The smell, like, are you guys okay? Yeah, for me, this one is definitely my in love fragrance. Like I would wear this. I wear it a lot right now. I love it. It's beautiful. And just as a reminder for those of you who haven't seen my previous videos, the star hero note in Sweet Diamond is pink pepper, and this note is actually said to create the same emotion of when you fall in love when you smell it. So that's why we actually decided to focus on pink pepper for the direction of this juice, and it really does create that feeling of just like excitement and like, you know, butterflies in your stomach. That's what pink pepper does. So definitely want to wear a Sweet Diamond if you're like in the mood to start dating and you want somebody to fall for you. Love it. What are some notes that you didn't like at first but you have grown to love? And that's a really good question, because what I've realized is through my fragrance training that I've been doing is that single notes smell so different to when they're mixed in a different fragrance. You know, fragrance is very interesting. It's kind of like when you're making soup or when you're cooking, like some things on their own can be like really polarizing. You might not like them at all, but when they're mixed in the right kind of recipe, the harmony kind of like really makes them beautiful. So here's like my little fragrance training single note ingredients from Firmenich, or perfume house. So these are like things that I try to train my nose to just smell fragrance notes on their own. It's very interesting because things that I really love in a fragrance might smell very different on their own. Like for example, the saffron note on its own smells very strange. Like some people will say it kind of smells like rubber bands or something weird, and like in a fragrance I die for saffron. Like it's just the one ingredient that really makes me addicted to a fragrance. It's a hard question for me, because I don't want to say I don't like a specific note, because I believe that with fragrance used in an interesting way, you can always make yourself like things. So yeah. So what are some inexpensive, cheaper oud fragrances that you recommend? So I pulled just a few out of my collection because I have tons of oud in my fragrance basement. And honestly, like there are a lot. I do have to say oud as an ingredient is super expensive. So when you do go to the more affordable ones, they're probably not using natural oud. They're probably using something called cypriol, which is an ingredient that's synthetic, which imitates oud. But I do feel like the real ouds are typically a lot more long lasting, they're a lot more powerful. But to be honest, sometimes natural oud is too much for most people who aren't used to it yet. Like I always like to relate oud to truffle oil, and I think that, you know, you have to kind of ease it into your food over time, because if you have too much in the beginning, you're gonna be like, this is too much for me. And the same thing with oud, like you gotta sprinkle it into your fragrances over time so you kind of build up the love for it. Otherwise it might be too much. So I think people who haven't worn natural oud now probably can't, they'd probably do better with like a cypriol fragrance, something that has synthetic oud. This one's from Swiss Arabian Perfumes, and this is called Shagaf Oud. And to be super honest, I never smelled this until today. Because everybody who was reviewing Sweet Diamond on YouTube was comparing a Shagaf Oud to Sweet Diamond, so we had to buy it to just compare. There's a little bit of similarities, like I'd say the saffron note is a bit similar, and people think that Sweet Diamond has oud, but it doesn't actually. So I think that it just kind of reminds people of the same sort of like scent. But this one's really pretty. I actually do really like it. It's really beautiful. The other one that I pulled is called Oud Saffron from Hugo Boss. So this one is around $130 in Dubai. I'm not sure about the US. Let me spray somewhere else. And this is really pretty. Honestly, I got this because one of my best friends, Hanu, she wears this all the time. And it's nice. It's really pretty. It's not my favorite oud, but it is really, I feel like this, I would definitely layer with a lot of vanilla to kind of like make it a little bit sweeter. It's definitely nice. So the last brand I want to highlight, if you're looking for an affordable oud, is Montal. And I really like their ouds. They have a lot of variety. I actually have like, looking at my collection over there, I think we have like 100 bottles, maybe. Yeah, there's a lot, and they have a lot of variety, which I like. So, and they're very, very affordable. I think they're around like, I would say between $50 to $100, depending on where you're buying it from. I found a website in Dubai that offers a really good price, but this is really beautiful. This is Black Oud, and yeah, it's 100 ml for a very decent price. This one is very strong to me. It's a little bit more on the masculine side, but to me it smells more like original oud, in my opinion. It's a little bit incensey and like smoky, but I really like it. Like, it reminds me of like Dehen Oud, which is like the oil of oud. It's very nice. How many fragrances do you own? I've got to be honest with you, I don't know right now. I'm not sure. I need to do a recount because a couple years ago, I think a year and a half ago, we did a count in the house and there was over 3,000, and now I've moved everything to the basement and I've gotten super organized. And yeah, I just need to recount again. I'm honestly not sure, but I have a lot. I probably order on average, I don't know, maybe around 100 bottles a month, depending on the month. So yeah, I'd say between 50 to 100 bottles are added every single month. So I am obsessed. I'm a collector. I love perfume. I love other brands. I'm not just a person who wears my own brand. I love other brands and love supporting other brands. And I just really appreciate the art of fragrance. Like, I think it's not, to me, it's not just like you're buying something. Like, I love the bottle, I love the inspiration behind it. I think like every bottle has a story usually, especially the niche brands. Like, I love indie brands because usually there's just a lot more storytelling and a lot more inspiration there. It's not like just based off of like market research or something. It's like the founder or the person behind it or the team behind it is really like, they're really passionate. So I should do a video on like indie brands I love, and I'm gonna do it. I will recount my perfumes and get back to you guys. But there are definitely thousands. I'm not sure how many. Can you talk about how you layer your perfumes? So for me personally, like, I try not to overcomplicate layering because I feel like when you do, you don't do it enough. So I really just try to have fun with layering, and I like to pick like a specific direction for what I want to layer with. So like, if I wear a whole bunch of, you know, fragrances that are kind of like woody and spicy, then I will want to layer with a whole bunch of sweet ones on top. Like, that's to me like my icing. And if you're doing something like, you know, floral and citrus, again, like put on a few floral fragrances and then top it off with like maybe your favorite citrus fragrances. But I try to stick with just a couple of directions, and I usually like to make the toppers all like a similar vibe. So if I want to layer with citrus, I'll layer with like a few different of my favorite citruses. If I want to do some sweetness, I'll add a few Gourmand. If you want to make your fragrances really woody, then you can just pick your favorites. But that's how I typically go about it. You can also layer through just different formats. So adding on like a beautiful like body balm or a lotion or an oil to kind of set your base. And this is actually really good too because it makes your fragrance a lot more long lasting. And for me, that's really important because I love when my fragrances last all day and I don't have to reapply too much. So I definitely recommend, if you want your fragrances to last, to start with like a beautiful body balm and find a scented one if you can, like something that's like vanilla or something that's very easy to mix with other fragrances. Like, of course, I'm gonna pick vanilla because I love vanilla. Why do perfumes smell different on other people? And this is a really great question because I've heard so many people say, you know, something smells amazing on them and then their best friend or their partner will be like, no, it smells terrible on them. So it really is true that fragrance smells very different on different skin. All of us have our own natural scent. We have different pH levels. We can also smell different through different times of the month, the year. For women, it's also like really based on our hormones and where we are in our cycle, but also throughout the year. Like in the summer, we smell different to how we smell in the winter. Like, it's really interesting, but humans, we actually have like our own scent, you know, we're animals. But if you want to kind of try to make sure that your fragrances smell a little bit more consistent and they don't evolve as much. If you want them to not evolve as much, just try spraying the fragrance on your clothing as well. And this is something I also recommend if you want to keep them lasting more long, because clothing, hair, they hold fragrance a lot longer than skin. Skin is very complicated. Like I'm sure you guys know, even from just like your skincare routine, like our skin is not like, it's got its own little mood. Like my skin's very moody. Like I break out all the time. I'm like, yeah, it's all over the place, but skin is just not consistent. So that's why fragrance smells very different on everybody. So the last question for today's session, because we have a lot more, but I think this is gonna go on too long, so we'll save it for next time. Some Eau De Parfums over 20% oil. How come they don't last longer than 2 hours? So this is interesting because sometimes the fragrance concentration doesn't always mean it's going to last super long. There are so many different factors that come into play. I think the number one factor is definitely the amount of base notes that you have in your perfume triangle. Things that are very base note heavy usually last a lot longer. They don't necessarily have as big of a projection. So, you know, when you smell like a citrusy fragrance, it kind of fills up the room. Things that are very fresh and sometimes even florals, like they really do fill up the room. But if they don't have a lot of really nice complex base notes, they might not last very long. So concentration is something that helps with longevity, but it doesn't always mean it's going to equal longevity. And so for example, for us with Kayali, like our elixir and our citrus, they both have the same amount of oil concentration, but because of the composition of elixir, it's a lot more long lasting, it's a lot more powerful. It's just what the fragrance notes have in them. They're a lot more heavy. So it really is not always like this equals that. There's a lot of complexity when it comes to fragrance, and it also even depends on the type of ingredients, the quality of ingredients, where they're sourced from. Like it's really, really intense. And also back to the previous question, you know, when it comes to spraying on skin, you know, skin is very volatile. And longevity is also really related to where you spray. So as we mentioned in the earlier question, if you really want your fragrances to last, even if you have a concentration of 20%, if you're only spraying on skin and your skin is dry, it might not capture the fragrance very well. So again, use an oil, use a moisturizer to really help the fragrance stick onto your skin. It is like an area of my concentration. Like I really care about longevity. So it's like one of my missions in life to create the most long-lasting fragrances, but also to help you guys make your fragrances last longer. So the more research I do, the more I'm going to share with you guys. But for now, I would definitely suggest moisturize, spray on skin, spray on hair. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I really want to try and answer as many questions that you guys have as possible. And we'll definitely do a part 2 to answer the remainder of the questions. And thank you again, everyone who submitted your questions. We really appreciate it. We want to make sure we're speaking about things that you guys care about. You know, otherwise, why am I doing this channel? So as a reminder, please don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And as always, we're going to end this video with the quote of the day. And today's quote is, "The beauty of fragrance is that it speaks to your heart and hopefully someone else's." Love that. It's by the amazing Elizabeth Taylor. And I do think that, you know, fragrance is something that you do for yourself first, and it's super intimate. And I feel like it's something that, you know, you might not even see people. Like it's so funny on Zoom calls lately because of, you know, COVID and just working from home. Like I'll spray my fragrance before a Zoom call, and of course no one's gonna see it. No one's gonna smell me, but it just really gives you a boost of confidence and it makes you feel so good. So just remember to always wear your perfumes for yourself first and other people second. And yeah, it could definitely be something that helps you capture someone's heart and their memories. So I love you guys so much. Take care and happy fragrancing, perfuming, I don't know. Have fun. Love you guys. Mwah.